To my younger self, what's your
To
story?
my younger self.
To 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 my younger self. What's your story? To my younger self. What's your story?
Hey, oh my goodness, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It is To My Younger Self, where we tell stories from the past that will propel you into the future. And your host is Zoe Baraka, as always. I am a little rusty, so please, 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 won't you bear with me? But welcome to the show that tells stories from all across Africa. Your host is Zoe Baraka. And like we always do in Grant to My Younger Self fashion, we try to greet everybody who is watching us from across Africa and some other parts of the world. But I used to greet you in the mornings. Now it's not morning. So I'm having to figure out a way to say good day to you and to say good afternoon to you, because I know most parts of Africa right now, it's afternoon and not morning. One of my favorite languages is the Hausa language. And so let me say, Sanung Darana. You know what? I think when Alifa comes on, she may correct me on that. It's either Baraka Darana or Sanung Darana or something like that. But you are welcome. Good afternoon to you. In my father tongue, Kasal, we say, I'm trying to remember. I promise. Nintanga, or we say Nintanga Awela. I live in Rwanda now, and I'm representing that in my T-shirt today. And so we say Mirwe in Rwanda, or we say Mwaramutse in Rwanda, or Amakuru, which is, hey, what's up, right? In Chi, we will say Mimawaha or Maha to you. So good afternoon to you. Et is saying, Akwaba, come in, please. When you come in, go ahead and just share and like and comment. Let me know you are here so I can say hello to you, okay? In Ghana, I'm not sure. I think Ghana people still say Ojeko if they want to say you're welcome. I don't know what they say when they say good afternoon, but I would like for somebody to type it in the comment section and teach me how to greet people, either hello or good afternoon in Ghana. If you speak Dagbani, Dasaba to you. Of course, the Yorubas will say Ekasan to you, which is good afternoon. If you are Igbo, we say Ehihe Ema to you. Of course, the Eves will say Ndi or Ndinami to you. Wolof, one of my favorite languages in Africa, we say Naga Ngadef to you. Of course, Habari za Macha to you, or Habari ya Osubwe to you, if you speak Swahili. And Bonjour, Bomdia. Kushe to you. It is wonderful to see you wherever you are in Africa. My heart is full. It's been a long time since we shared stories on this platform. A lot has changed. The last time I did this, I I lived in the US, and I lived almost by myself. Now I live in East Africa, and I am not Miss, I am Mrs. A lot has changed. A lot has changed. And stories, there's so many stories, and I cannot wait to share them. Let me introduce our guest speaker to you. today. An incredible young woman. I had the privilege of hanging out with this amazing woman in Ghana, and we got to swap stories. And as she was sharing some of her stories with me, I remember asking her, whenever I go on, would you like to come on and share stories with us? And her answer was an immediate, resounding yes. And so before I introduce her, I even want to say thank you to her for her willingness to be a part of this project. Dr. Alifa Abdul Karim is a public health professional. She's a lecturer and a researcher and an advocate. She holds a PhD, okay, in public health, a master's of public health from the University of Ghana, and a Bachelor of Science in nursing from the University of Development Studies. In Ghana, the Chi or the Akan people will say, Mamina Bing, girl na Bing. She is learned. She is so learned. She also spent several years in Japan, where she pursued her PhD and gained experience in medical English education and international academic settings. She currently serves as a lecturer at CDU TCM, Keele University Joint Health and Medic Sciences Institute in China. Her work focuses on public health education, research, health promotion, and mental health advocacy, with a passion for inspiring others through life's difficult seasons. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, before we bring Dr. Alifa Khan, I don't know why I said Alifa Khan, that is so weird. Oh, because I was watching somebody whose name was Khan just a few minutes before we jumped on. Let me see who is here. I see Dr. Hanatu is here. There's somebody on YouTube, Eva Nay 1000. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Hanatu is in the UK and she says, hello TMYS. We are glad you are back. We are glad to be back as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Please share, and comment. Without further ado, let me bring out our storyteller in grand fashion of To My Younger Self, Dr. Alifa Abdul Karim. You are most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here. It's really nice to be able to share stories because I think the only way stories don't die is for us to share them so we can all learn from them and we can all just progress. So thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And you know what? I always tell my guests, I'm one of the luckiest presenter or show host in the world because my job normally ends 10 minutes into the show. So my job is done. I am handing over to you. I am here to listen and to every once in a while go, oh my God, like that. So over to you. Please go ahead and you can start sharing stories.
Thank you so much, sister. When you were introducing me, you mentioned about our meeting, and today I was thinking about the first time we met, and I was thinking about I think we met twice. We met the first time, and then we had coffee. I remember we had coffee, and we ended up having ice cream after that. So I was just thinking about all of that and how we were able to meet through another networking situation, which was amazing. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to share stories here. My name is Alifa. I am very privileged to be here. And when I like to introduce myself, I like to say, my name is Alifa. I am a woman. And then I say what it means to me, for me to be a woman. I think for me, being a woman has different aspects. And I am an African woman, as you can see from my
Yeah, you know what? Big shout out to you. You're representing us in China. No sway. My goodness.
Oh, I am so represented.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. I love being in China because it's kind of closer to our culture and also different. So it's just kind of a different thing to learn and observe the culture from different aspects of Asian countries. Yeah. Back to my story. I am privileged to have sisters like you and other sisters as well. I think what I always say, one of my biggest strengths is that I was blessed with women and men that were always in my corner. It's be it family, be it friends. I've always been blessed in that situation. Recently, during my birthday in July, I had a whole thing where my friends or my family in South Africa sent a whole video of them singing, and I was like, oh my God. And I had another family from all the way different places sending me videos, and I was like, wow, just little old me. I'm so privileged for this. Yes. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share our story. I think storytelling to my younger self. When I think about my younger self, I remember today I was talking to one of my mentees, and I was telling her I remember my younger self by a little girl sitting by the gutter. If you've lived or you've been around La Paz, we have huge gutters in La Paz. Yes, I
Oh my
used to love. I used to love sitting by those gutters and just watching people. And
wow.
I used to think, how much is their life worth? I used to always think, how much is is that if this person is in any problem, are we going to sell everything to just take care of this person's health? I used to think about these questions, and I used to ask these questions. So it wasn't a surprise for me when I decided to go into humanities, because I used to always think, like, how much is the life worth? How much is life worth for all of us? Like, are we going to sell everything in the world just to take care of the? I used to think like that, and it used to. Now that I've grown and I understand how the world works, I think back and I'm like, oh boy, I had no idea how the world works. But then it also shows me that where I came from and where I am now is totally different. And it's only by hard work and privilege that I've been able to get to where I am, and still learning from people that I'm very privileged to have. When I was growing up, I grew up in La Paz. I was born in Nima, and then I grew up in La Paz. Yes.
Yeah.
Born in Nima at, when we say in Hausa, we say backing gutter, just where the gutter is, the huge gutter. Yes, that's where my family house is. My father's house used to be there. My grandfather's house used to be there. Then we moved to La Paz, which is where I grew up. If you know New Boy Town well, you know New Boy Town is another Zongo kind of vibe. So I've been in different aspects of that. I come from a family of five, and I have an older sister and a younger brother. So my mom is an amazing woman. She made sure when we were growing up that we had access to teachers and malams who would teach us about Arabic and who would teach us about the Islamic religion, as well as the secular education. So I've always had private teachers that came once in a while to teach us. But growing up, one of the things that's always stuck me was that how much in that aspect, coming from a Muslim community, coming from a Zongo community, coming from Ghana, and now being here, I want to talk about how difficult and how entertaining sometimes that is, because
I can. Wow.
I think anybody that has come from a different culture and trying to integrate into another culture will know that integrating into another culture means that sometimes you have to redefine what that culture means for you, because there is this shift of you trying to hold on to your identity back home, as well as also trying to accept and integrate and adapt to a new society. And so when I came here first, when I started traveling outside Ghana, it was a moment that I had to really try to grow up and try to, I think I was already grown. I think the word I should use is try to understand the concept of what it means to come from where I was coming from, where our culture was mostly geared towards trying to be helpful to everyone, basically introduce yourself as a helper, then you are a good person, and then a different environment where you need to learn how to kind of be very personal about your things, about your ways. So it was a nice shift for me. Back to my growing up, where I grew up, we were taught that my mom, my mom is the type of woman that makes cocoa and kose for people during Ramadan every day
Oh
till the end
my
of
God.
yes. My
Was she
grandmother,
selling? She's
no,
selling
she
it
doesn't
or
sell them. She just shares it during Ramadan for people to come and have kind of like a way to break their fast. So that is how I was brought up. We're brought up to be of service, to be helpful, and growing up while in school, when I was in UDS, I was privileged to be able to serve in different sectors of that. So I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about how to be of service to people. So that's what I knew. But the difficulty of it is now coming back to an environment where that can serve you. But then now you need to reintroduce what that means for you.
Mm.
So, how do you introduce what that means for you? That means that you have to allow some part of you to calm down, and then you are able to understand the new concept of your new environment, and then you're able to integrate it into it. So, for me, that was a very difficult thing to do because then you don't want to be unkind, but we know how kindness is interpreted in a different community. So, you have to learn how to adapt that, how to use that to be able to integrate into what you were taught so you don't lose all of them. So for me, that was my biggest challenge when I had decided to live in a different environment. So that I found very interesting. And then also, growing up, it was I've been through like you and I shared a lot of stories about my story growing up, about
Yeah.
my
Those
journey
are
to
the
here.
stories I'm here for. So I need you to actually tell the stories. Tell them.
Yes. So for me, I think after my schooling in UDS, I after schooling in UDS and getting my nursing degree, I got married. I think a few months after school. And when I
Damn.
got married, yes, a few months. I think even during my national service, I got married during my national service, and the thing about getting married at that time was not bad. The thing about getting married at that time for me personally was that I didn't even know myself so well. One,
Mm.
because you just finished school, you are just trying to get to know yourself, you are trying to integrate, you are trying to understand the different cultures of work life coming from the environment that I was coming from, where it was very traditional. It was traditional. Like I always say, I'm a traditional woman, but it had to be that you had to learn certain things that didn't take you away from yourself. And I didn't get that understanding perfectly. I think most of the time, my understanding of that was that you just get married, you start having kids, and then you take care of your kids. So, to my surprise, my story didn't follow that. When my story didn't follow that part, it left me confused and it left me trying so hard to fit into that culture. My story was that I had to deal with the heartbreaking issue of infertility.
Mm.
And as a young girl who prioritized marriage so much, who prioritized starting a family so much, and then now suddenly what you thought this is how life is supposed to go, and it doesn't go like that. So you keep trying so hard. And that is when, for me, a lot of disappointment started for me. A lot of ways that I had to learn to be comfortable with disappointing people and saying that, well, this is the expectations, but if I'm not getting that expectations, then who am I supposed to be as a person? So that's when a lot of questions started for me. A lot of questions about talking with friends and talking with people from different cultures and trying to understand what it actually means. If this story didn't work out, what is the other story?
Mm.
So I went through a stage where I call getting to know yourself better. So reintroducing, I called it reintroducing myself to myself. And yeah, yes, it was a whole phase. It was a very important phase for me. Reintroducing myself to myself meant that I had to understand what my purpose was, because nobody said this one was going to work out the way you think it should have worked out. But then if it didn't work out, what exactly are you again as the other person that is now being birthed? Because I believe so much in God. I believe in timing. I believe in believing in God and understanding God's qadar and all of that. But then what is your qadar if the qadar that you wrote for yourself or you thought should have been for yourself didn't happen? That's where it's occurred to me that I had to make changes. And these changes, I want to applaud the people that God put in my life during those changes, where I had the chance to talk to people from different perspective, with different perspective, people from different angles, to actually learn about what it means for me to change my purpose, what it means for me to kind of make a deviation from what I thought I should, where I thought I should have been. And during that change is where a lot of things came up, like things like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be of service? Because one of the people that I love to listen to is Oprah, and also other famous people that have actually lived their life according to how they like it. Because when I was growing up, we were told that you get married, you have kids, you take care of your kids. That's the thing. And so I had to now think about what is my purpose in that sector? Where do I
Can I
now fit in?
break a little bit and let's maybe redirect the story? Probably because I kind of know a little bit about it. But let's stay with the infertility a bit. I want to hear, because a lot of young women go through that in Africa, where
Yeah.
they go through so much very silently. And so, if you don't mind, I would like for you to walk me through, or rather, walk us through your infertility. What did you have to do? Um,
Oh,
how was your family involved, if they were? You were married at the time, so how did it either affect or not affect your relationship with your family? What did your spouse or partner, how did you what did you have to give up or maybe not give up, for example? Because a lot of young women do lose themselves in this
yeah.
process, and that's the story I really want you to maybe paint the picture for us in as many words as you can. Yeah.
I think when it comes to the story of my story of infertility and my journey with infertility, my journey with infertility, because in the form of storytelling, as soon as I got married, my idea was that, oh, maybe I don't want to have kids now. Let me just take my time. So
Mhm.
1 year after that, we're like, okay, let's try to
Right.
have babies.
How old were you?
I think I was 25 years old then. I was
Okay.
25 years old, and then we decided to start having kids. So
Mm.
the interesting thing was that we never even thought it would be a problem. We never thought that would ever be a problem for us. Personally, I didn't even think, because my older sister has 5 kids, and my mom has. So it never occurred to me that something would be wrong in that aspect. But the interesting thing about that was that I realized that we couldn't have kids. So we decided then that, okay,
Mm.
we decided that,
It says, please share only what you're comfortable with. Of course, doctor. I think I probably circle back to it because I know in conversation you are comfortable with sharing some of this,
yeah,
obviously not all of it. And so maybe I should call you Eva 1000. Yes, we've definitely had backstage conversations several times. And so Dr. Alifa is not going to share anything she's not comfortable with. And that's the beauty of this show, that
yeah,
you are given the grace to share only what you're comfortable with. And that's why I hardly ever ask questions, but rather I redirect towards what I know we've talked about. Hopefully that answers your concerns, Eva. All right, go ahead.
yeah. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you for that reminder. That was nice.
Mm.
Um, So my story about infertility started at a very young age, and during that time when we realized that it was a problem for us to have kids, then the decision now was for us to look at the possibility. So while I was going through that journey, I was in Japan then. I was, course, as you said, I lived in Japan for some years. I was schooling, I was doing a PhD then. And that is when we went full into trying infertility treatment. And the thing about infertility is that it's really changes who you are, especially with where we come from, where womanhood is explained from that perspective, from the
Yes.
perspective as you should have kids and then you should take care of your kids. That is how a woman is explained. So when it was something that we wanted or something that I wanted and it was not happening, then it then brought about a lot of questions. It then brought about a lot of what ifs, what if, what if. So during that time, one of the things that really struck with me that I would like to share as a form of encouragement was how much the struggle really changes who you are as a person. Because now going through the challenge of trying to have a child, trying to live the life, trying to also manage a marriage, and trying to also look at people's expectations of you, because it wasn't just about you trying to have a child, it was about the expectation of grandmothers waiting for their grandchildren, other people waiting for who they thought the child that they are expecting. Because in our culture, most of the time, it is seen as a form of blessing. So you
Yeah.
not having that, yes, you not being able to have that blessing changes the way you see yourself. So when I was going through it, one of the things that struck to me was how much I myself was so hard on myself because I wanted children so much. And it got to a point that it was like I needed to understand what it meant for me. So when I understood what it meant for me, and when I understood the journey that we had to go through if it wasn't like that, or the journey that I had to go through to have kids, which was a very strong journey. So I went through infertility treatment in Japan. The
Mm.
painful part of that journey was the fact that I was doing it while I was alone because my
Right.
husband then,
Oh.
yes, my husband then was not in the country with me. So going through that journey while doing a PhD, which by
Oof.
then was not sponsored. So that means that meant working, infertility, as well as doing a PhD. Those three combinations was just something that you wouldn't even understand how much heavy it was. Yeah, yeah.
God, that was heavy.
That was very heavy. And I think what made it really much more heavier was the pressure that I was also putting on myself. The
Mm.
pressure that I was allowing from home to be on my shoulder, that it had to be like that, it had to be like that. And just
Yeah.
kind of describing myself as a failure if I wasn't able to get that. So one thing that that journey taught me was that I was allowed to redefine who I wanted to be,
Mm.
irrespective of that, irrespective of achieving that, irrespective of not achieving that. So the biggest achievement for me in that journey was it allowed me time to learn, because like I started with saying, growing up, we were taught to be of service.
Yes.
And so that journey taught me that I needed to now take a step back and understand, what do I also want in this? Like, how much of this is what I want, and how much of this is just pressure that I thought I needed to put on myself? Because one
That's a
thing
good
about, yes,
one.
one thing from
Mm.
coming from a place where you felt that you had to always be or just kind of satisfy kind of like different stratas was that when one doesn't work out, you kind of feel like everything is coming down. And for me, I felt that
Yes.
pressure. Yes.
But I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And I don't even know how Africans, especially, the thing is, I don't even know if is really an African thing, but we definitely hammer on it a lot as Africans. we have this pressure of when you're single, everybody says, when are you getting a boyfriend? And the moment you get a boyfriend, everybody's asking, when is the marriage? Almost like no time to breathe. They keep you on your toes. And then
Yeah.
if marriage that happens inside of 2 months, everybody's asking, where are the babies? And when the first baby arrives, people say they need a brother or sister
Yeah.
to hang out with. And then some people would say, well, you now need at least a complete set of 4. And after that, nobody ever, sits back to say, we don't know what this person might be going through. And we don't know why they're single, or we don't know
Yeah.
why they don't have kids yet. And
Mm.
perhaps the question shouldn't be, when are the babies coming? But the question should be, how are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
This right. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry you had to go through that pressure. That was a lot.
That was a lot, but one of the things that I also learned now is that a lot of that pressure was from society, and I didn't need to hold on to that pressure. I think for me, that is one of the freeing things that as a young girl, I would like other people listening to me to learn that it doesn't matter the pressure. You don't need to carry that pressure. Because for me, I carried those pressures so much. It's okay for people to have what they want. It's okay for them to have expectations. Like right now, if somebody asks me questions about that, what I say is that, do you have your kids? Hold on to that. You can
Hello,
define.
it. I do. Wow.
Yes, because you can define how you want somebody's life to be, but like how we get up and we let people's expectations dictate for us is what is the problem. How we, because that is how we're trained. So it's not our fault. For me, I've been able to go through therapy so many times, so I can talk about this so comfortably, and I can say how going through therapy and dealing with all these expectations of what people think or how people expect you to be as a Muslim woman. I was
Mm,
talking with a good friend of mine, and we were explaining that she was asking me what is wrong and where did people go wrong when it comes to girls right now that are growing up that feel like they need to um, put themselves in a coma or in a particular container to be able to be who they are. And I was saying that because we growing up, a lot of people that grew up in Ghana or from where I came from, we were taught that you have an expectation that once you finish school, you get married, you raise kids. So we are all waiting for the happily ever after. And we all just keep waiting for the happily ever after. So when the happily ever after is not coming, and now it's kind of like it's work and work and work. Raising kids is work. Not raising kids is work. Being who you are is work. Not being who you are is work. So you need to just choose, what do you want to be? Now
choose your heart.
you need to choose who you want to be, because it's like either way there is something wrong. Either way there is something that you have to be. But the most important thing is knowing yourself. Knowing yourself is the most important thing in all of this. Be it being a mom, being a wife, not being a mom, not being a wife, being who you are, being a teacher, being a doctor, being a nurse. The most important thing is that we didn't get the chance to, as African girls, some of us didn't get the chance to introduce ourselves to ourselves. It was like we were told, oh no, you are supposed to do this. No, you are supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be like that. So you keep chasing, you keep trying. As a person who is in academia, I know how this stress can be too much on people. I know how trying to just fit that category. Luckily for me, where I grew up, I was privileged to be the first person to go to the university, to go to do in my family sector, to go to the university, and then going all the way up to a PhD was a big deal.
Congratulations.
So proud of
You,
me.
oh, for real though, clock it, like they say. You are like, I don't
Yes.
want to call it a cycle breaker. I don't think, no, you're a trendsetter, rather. Let's say that. You're a trendsetter. You literally set the bar so high, but also very comfortably.
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is
Wow.
amazing. Yes. I always say that me going into nursing first was my mom just mentioning that, oh, I think I want a daughter who is a nurse. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let me try
And that
and
was
be a
it.
nurse. That was it, yes. So, and it was not a bad choice. It was a good choice, but just saying how much where it actually came from. So after
Mm,
being a nurse, after some years, I decided to go into public health. I
mm,
had a good friend, Deborah. Thank you, girl. She called me and she was like, Afo, she calls me, Afo, I've already picked up the form for you. We are going to do masters. And I was like, you and who? So she was like,
yeah.
So she was like, "Oh, we are going to do a master's," and I'm like, "No, I don't have master's money." And she was like, "You will get that money. We'll do the master's." So that is how I ended up University of Ghana. Eventually, she hadn't picked the form. We met up and picked up the form. She just wanted me to be serious about it, so we did the masters, and it was an amazing experience to do masters in University of Ghana. I learned a lot there, and after the masters, we moved to by then, that was when I moved to Japan after the masters. I went to Japan first, not to go to school, but then I got to Japan and it was a good experience. And I was like, well, why not? We decided to do a PhD then. And then I did a PhD then. So after my PhD, it was like a good experience. That is to say that good friends really matter in our journey. Today, I was listening to one of your speakers, and she was talking about the four aunties. And I was like, yes, good friends really take you on a long journey. I was privileged to have friends even during the time of my infertility. My friends really carried me along. I remember I would, if you know somebody or you've been through the infertility journey, you know that it is a journey of a lot of work. It is a journey of self-doubt. It's a journey that it basically opens part of you that you don't even understand. And so during that journey, my family, my friends were really amazing. I remember going through that journey, and I had an amazing friend in Japan then called Sandrine. I will go to the hospital, come back from the hospital, and just call her bawling out, like, I
Oh,
can't do this. And I remember she would come to my house one time, hold my hand. She's a Christian and I am a Muslim. And she was like, she has this soft voice. And she was like, I know we don't believe in the same things, but we need to pray right now. And she would hold my hand and we would pray together and we would cry together while praying. And then after that, we give each other a hug and then we'll go our way. So, in all my journey, one of the things that really made it easy, be it through my infertility journey, be it through my personal growth, be it through my journey to my academia, one of the things that I've always held on to is good friends who help you to be able to overcome life challenges and also go through them nicely.
wow.
So I am really privileged in that aspect. Yes, yes.
That's amazing. And hopefully, Sandrine will get to watch this at some point. And
Yes,
if she ever gets to watch it, I would like to say thank you to Sandrine and
yeah,
your friends who really helped you through what I imagine to be a very difficult time, especially being a young woman,
mm,
living apart from your family, living in a new country altogether. And really doing it on your own, but you are carrying three very heavy loads at
mm.
the same time. That must have been very backbreaking. But look at you now with all that glow you got going on.
Yeah,
Woo!
it was quite hard to carry all of that. And I think um, looking back now, it was supposed to be like that. Um, it was supposed to, because not so many people have the chance to learn from such difficulties. Not to say difficulties are good, but sometimes the only way sometimes we can understand other people is to have to go through something hard ourselves. And I have been through infertility, I've been through a divorce, I've been through moving countries by myself,
Mhm.
and all
So,
of these.
wow. No, I wanted to just break through and just say a big kudos to Eva with her comment. She says, you have good friends sometimes because you are a good friend. And
These are
that
amazing.
is, yeah, no, that is a very full circle moment, Alifa, because whatever you give, you get back for the most
That's
part, not all the time. But
true.
the most amazing thing any human being gets to go through is to be able to reach with one hand, but also be able to take with the other hand because the person you gave to is given back to you. And so this is a testament of your own character, Alifa. And Eva is saying the same thing, that you are a good friend, and that's why you got good friends.
Thank you.
Um, I know, right? The storyteller in me wants to move the story along. It looks like we have about 20 minutes or so left. So you very smoothly kind of shifted us into a different gear. So we've talked about your childhood and where you grew up. Girl, we could swap stories for days. I
I
had an
know.
uncle I know. I had an uncle who lived in Nima, and even though my own family didn't live in Nima, they didn't live in Accra, and so every time we would go on vacation, I sometimes had to live in Nima, and those little corners and alleys and gutters of Nima are no joke. You know, they
Yeah.
it make you grow up in a different way. So you've walked us through that. You've also walked us through your infertility journey. You talked about divorce and the fact that you've gone through a divorce and also moving and living in a different country all by yourself. Do you mind? And I have to be careful here because these are sensitive topics that you're very boldly just, sharing on this platform. Would you want to talk about divorce a little bit and what that did either to you or for you, or it's entirely up to you.
Yeah. I think for me, divorce, now that, because I've been divorced for a while now, so now it comes from a place of much more, a lot of introspection.
Okay.
Divorce, for me, if somebody has been through divorce, you know how changing, life changing that can be. You know how
Right.
difficult that can be. But I think the part of my divorce that made it more painful was going through it after infertility.
My
Going
God.
through it, and then that for me made it seem like I was a failure then. It made it seem like, what did I do all these years and now leading on to this? But like I said, now looking at it from a different perspective and looking at it after so many self introspection and also so many growth, I understand that my divorce happened because it had to happen. Because I think it happened because the two of us then had grown on different paths.
Mm,
Um, and I understood then that I wasn't able to fulfill what my partner needed then, and he wasn't able to fulfill what I needed then. So it was kind of, it happened kind of like both of us agreed on it. Both of us talk about it, and both of us agreed on it. Okay, so this is not going to work. And then we had to let it go. The part that made it painful was just how it was conceived in our society. You know,
mm,
in our society, a lot of divorce is seen as like really bad. I'm not saying divorce is good, but I'm saying that sometimes it happens for a reason. Sometimes it's not always that it had to happen because something is wrong. Sometimes it just has to happen because two people are not going in the same direction. Now that I have grown, I have learned to see it as a phase of changing, a changing phase, because I have changed a lot from who I
mm,
was as a young girl. Living in Japan changed me so much that I think that if I had tried too hard, I wouldn't be okay. And I'm not sure that we would both be okay in that situation, because living in a different environment also opened my eyes to the fact that people can, like I said, you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to want something different from what you were told you were allowed to have. So I think in all of this, one of the things that, and also dealing with the guilt of not being able to achieve the dream that I thought I was supposed to achieve. And then also during that time, it was a time that I was trying to understand myself, and trying to understand what it meant for me and who I was trying to be at that time. So I had just finished school, I had just finished a PhD, I had just come back to Ghana, I had just started to look for where to be after a long time of being away from home. So it came at a time when it made it difficult, but then it came at a time that it needed to have happened, because now looking back, I don't watch it from a place of bad or something bad happened. I see it that it was supposed to be like that. And the part that made it interesting was how my family also received it, because then it was like a big taboo. Nobody in my family had actually been through that process. So it felt a bit lonely. It felt like I just had to figure everything out by myself. So that made it hard, and that made it really, really uncomfortable. But also, I am a big believer in God. I believe in God so much. I believe in Qadar, which is just like what is meant to happen for you. And
Will
during
happen.
that time, will happen. During that time, I was very privileged to be able to talk to people that hadn't been through something similar, but understood what that meant for them. So I decided to focus on my career, to build my career then, and then to also just live my life according to how I thought I was supposed to live it, instead of
Right.
just trying to overcome the different stratas that we were blessed with. So
Mm.
yeah, my divorce journey was interesting, but it was a time of learning. It was a time of self introspection, and it was a time of growth. Yes.
Yeah. No, I
Mm.
understand that completely. Living in a different, um, I would say, society. If you live in Europe or even the Western hemisphere, like in the US and stuff, divorce sounds like you're going to the laundromat, right?
Mm.
It sounds
Mm.
that much. Doesn't matter who you talk to, they just go, yeah, well, I went through a divorce or I'm getting a divorce. And it's almost as easy as mentioning, hey, my name is so and so. Ghana and other parts of Africa, divorce is a little different. Um, and I think you amaze me because in your religion, I think divorce, you're probably the one and only person I personally know, coming from the Islamic religion, that has been able to walk through a divorce journey. And I'm sure there are many,
There are
maybe
many.
not, right,
Yeah.
not in the grand things as other people
Yeah.
can are able to do. I think in the Islamic religion they do try to form or figure out reconciliation paths for many
Yeah.
many months. And there's always leaders in different stages, and you probably have to go through all of that. And I don't know if you went through that, but the point I'm trying to make is that was a bold decision for both of you, you and
Yeah.
your spouse, to say, well, this path is not for us. We've tried it. But then we all know a lot of older people in our lives, when you look at their marriages, you can easily pinpoint and say these people should not have been together for this long,
Yeah. Yeah.
because one or both of them are very unhappy, but they
Mm.
continue to say they're married.
Mm.
So even at that young age, I think that you definitely became a trendsetter. Not that divorce needed to be set, the trend
Yeah.
needed to be set. The point is,
Mm.
broke you broke a certain limit,
Yeah.
um, with the religion that you
One of the
practice?
things that made it actually much easier was my grandmother, because I remember during that time, my mom was not having it. But
Mm.
my grandmother called me to come over. So I went to her house, and sometimes conversations I had that you are not privy to. And she was like, if you need to do this, do it in Hausa. Like, she literally said that to me. This is a
Say it.
difficult time.
Say it, Rosa, let me
Yes,
hear it.
I come from a family where women are very strong, very strong. I come from my mothers, my aunties. I always say they are traveling the world, doing businesses, looking for money. Take so I come from that kind of family where they are very, very strong. They have a very strong hold on what they want. So my grandmother, when she said that, for me, it was a confirmation then, because Islamically, divorce is frowned upon,
Mm.
but it's not said that it's a sin, especially
Mm.
circumstances. It's frowned upon. So a lot of the times, Islam, a lot of times is mixed with culture. But for me, as someone that had to take time to learn what Islam meant for me, because you can grow in Islam, but then what does it mean for you? I had the chance to learn and define what it meant for me not according to what everybody was saying, according to how I was brought up. I was able to, let me just say, in other place, rediscover it for myself, understand what it means. So I wasn't just a Muslim because I was born into Islam. I wanted to practice the Islam that is the real Islam, not just the Islam that was taught to us or how things are supposed to be. So that made it, yes, for me, that made it easier for me to be able to understand the difference between the culture and then the difference between what Islam actually says about a woman who had to make a decision. Because at that time, the other alternative was not good. The other
Mm.
alternative was me losing myself, me just not being able to go on, because going through all of that struggle, then I knew what it changed in me. I knew who it made me, and I knew how much the struggle was really difficult to be able to go on. So when it comes to choosing, that is where I said that really getting the time to know yourself and redefining what it means for yourself. I did a lot of that while I was in Japan. So when I came back and things were not well, I knew I had to change a path. And this is to say that we are all allowed to change a path. If I have to tell my younger self something now, I want to tell her that you are allowed to change a path. You are allowed to be different today and be different tomorrow. And it doesn't really require you to ask people permission to be who you are. I think that is the part that makes it hard.
That
Yes.
Yeah, that no, that is a very profound statement. You are allowed to change your path.
Hmm.
No matter how old you are or even how young you are, you definitely are allowed to change your path. And so if you don't like where you are today, you can
You can
wake up tomorrow and say, I'm changing lanes. You know, Alifa, it's interesting how when you're driving, you switch lanes very easily, right? You just switch because maybe there was too much traffic on the right side or something, but and then you switch. But in life, everybody seems to just put a ceiling on ourselves, put ourselves in
change.
a box, say, no, I'm 50, I don't think I want to go back to school, or I'm 60, I don't think I want to get healthy anymore, and all kinds of
Mm.
things we tell ourselves. But one of the things I wanted you to tell me, I am so in love with the Hausa language, you have no idea. And it's one of the reasons why I start all of this show. Every time we go live, I start greeting people first and foremost in the Hausa language. And
Mm.
so when you said that your grandmother called you home and spoke in the Hausa language, I really wanted you to say it the way she said it in Hausa. This is probably selfish because I don't know that it even adds to the story, but I just wanted to hear the language. Is that possible?
It is possible. Before I say this, I would
Yes.
like to talk about my grandmother a little bit. So my
Yeah.
grandmother, for me, I see her as a badass. Let me just
Mm.
say that, because growing up, growing up, she's still alive, so I can Alhamdulillah, she's well and she's alive. Growing up, my grandmother is someone that I've always been amazed about her way of life. I've always been so fascinated because she is very generous to the whole community. She cooks every Friday to feed people. So in her community, she's known as the Friday Star. So for me, I've always been amazed at how she keeps doing this continuously all the time. So when she says something, it means a lot to me. And she hardly speaks. She has a lot of grandchildren. She said to me, "Yai kiko karinki, yai Allah ya kaunaki."
Amen.
That literally means it's okay. You've done your best. Allah will bring yours. And every day she tells me, she says, Allah will bring yours. Allah will bring yours. Allah will bring yours. And every day she prays for me using that same language. And now that I am far from them and looking back at how much at that time I needed that to hear that, because going through difficulties brings about a lot of self-doubt. It brings about a lot of fear. And so you keep asking, am I making the right choice? Am I making the right choice? But the thing is, sometimes the right choice is just you choosing to be alive and be okay.
That's it.
And what she said was just kind of a confirmation of that, a confirmation of that it's okay. You would get through this. And I did get through this. I did amazing. It didn't take much. It didn't take away from my story. It didn't take away from who I was. It's rather built on to who I am in my character, in how I see people, in how I show compassion to friends and loved ones, and in also how I define who I am as a person. So thank you so much, Awe Ab.
Ama, honestly, listen, I love your grandma. We yai kai ko kari. Allah ya naka. That is an entire prayer on its own. It's a blessing and a prayer. And if all you did every morning was just wake up and replay that in your mind, well, I'm a Christian and we've been good friends. It doesn't take away from both of us. There's a gospel song where the young lady singing, she says, I get backing. Like she has backing, and she's trying to say that the person that walks with her is the power of God. God is walking with her. But when you wake up with that in your brain, your grandmother saying, Alifa, yai, kaiko kari, Allah ya kawanaka. It's literally almost restructuring your brain and you saying to yourself, I have backing. Like I know who is supplicating for me and who is praying for me. And I also know who has, like you said, many meetings are had without us when we have problems, right? And I'm sure there were elderly meetings. Elders sat around and talked, and she most likely was part of the elders that had meetings. But for her to come back and tell you this, she was in those meetings batting for you, advocating for you. And no matter what anybody else was saying, your grandmother, who is probably the matriarch of your family, and I'm not sure if she is, but if she was the one person standing and saying, no, my granddaughter has done good. And I will go whatever she says. That is a powerful story. And I think lucky woman. I think you're a very lucky woman. Well, we have just we can definitely go past the 1 hour. And I want you to talk a little bit to us about how you've moved back to where you are and how life is treating you and all that. But before we do that, I'm going to go to what I like to call a bit of a commercial break. Eva says, Allah will bring ours. I love how Eva has included herself in this. Allah will bring ours. What a lovely encouragement. I love it. I hope I can borrow this respectfully. She's probably asking you, she can borrow your grandmother's encouragement. 2 years ago, for those of you who are watching and who will watch later, me, the host of this show, and another good friend of mine, Abaketo Anda, we wrote a book called To My Younger Self, or Letters of Hope to My Younger Self. And in this book, we interviewed people cut across Ghana, very young and very old. And we interviewed all of them, and they wrote letters to their younger selves and all that great stuff. We have it out in Ghana, and we also have it on Amazon. But we did a little bit of a video that I like to play normally towards the end of the show, to just inform people that the book is available and you can go get it if you just crave more stories, because the stories in this book are amazing. So if you go on Amazon and you just type on letters of hope to my younger self, you will find it there. And so without further ado, just give me a few minutes. We're just going to play that real quick. And then when we come back, Dr. Alifa is going to tell us her last story. And then we can sip some more tea, and then we can say goodbye to each other. Bear with me one moment as we do that.
Another 6 o'clock is here. Wake up and meet the morning dear. Brand new day, it's a brand new slate. Like Barack say, yes I can. Don't let the worries of yesterday hold you down on this lovely day. Well, look up in the mirror and say, yes I can. Open your face, open your face. Nothing away, nothing away. Kani mukwala kabo Magana marekena blow Natengwa we Ubanyo fe Magana marekena blow Kani mukwala kabo.
Just do it, just do it. Just do it, just do it. Just do it, time is ticking. Just do it, just do it. Tired of lying to yourself, don't you know you are your best bet? Who you waiting for, who you waiting for? You've got all you need more. They will only help when it's convenient. Tell you all of this is for experience. She put no heart in your body and in your wild head. Just take a step and things will fall in place. Even when time flies, no one can catch it. So don't waste all your free granted. Your time is now, your time is now. Just believe it, take it, yes I can. Burn your face, burn your face. Not tell my way, not tell my way.
Kani mukwala kabo Magana marekena blow Natengwa we
Burn your face, burn your face.
Magana marekena blow Kani mukwala kabo.
Don't waste, the time will never be just right. Start from where you're standing now. Work with what you have. Work with what you got.
No one said it would be easy. Anyone that ever made it said it wasn't easy. Hey, well look up in the mirror and say yes I can. Open your face, open your face. Tell my way, tell my way. Kani mukwala kabo.
Well, amazing. Yes. And thank you guys for everyone who continues to read the book, anyone who continues to, buy on Amazon or reach out to us and ask us, how can we get it in Ghana? We actually have a distributor in Ghana. His name is Darius. And I think going forward, I'll put Darius's details inside the show stream so that anyone who needs the book is able to reach out to Darius in Ghana. But if you're in the US or in Europe, Amazon is definitely the best way to go. And it's on paperback, it's also on hardcover back, and it's on Kindle as well. So you can just buy it with one click and be able to read it in PDF format and stuff like that. And so, yes, it's an amazing book, not because I was part of the people that wrote it, but because stories just live and live and live when we keep sharing it. A few comments here. Eva, wow, you are so invested, and I love you for that. She says, Dr. A has done very well. Eva was also asking us about the book, and I think she answered herself because now she figured out it's going to be on Amazon. TMYS, our grandmother is Mama Emilia Ferguson. She herself has given us the privilege of being on the show and sharing her own story. And she says, I am glad you have been able to go through difficulties and come out strong. That is a powerful testimony, Mama Emilia. You're absolutely right. Eva says, the journey is absolutely wonderful, not perfect, but definitely wonderful. And maybe that's what all of us should be praying for, that we don't really need perfect journeys. We just need it to be wonderful when all is said and done.
Yeah.
Dr. Lee, I'm going to let you take us away with your last story of how you've, moved on from all the stuff you've gone through and where you are now. And we can go ahead and do a closing. Yeah.
Yes. Where I am now is, like you said, I'm now in China. And how I was able to move through this was to just kind of allow myself to understand that this is not the end of the story, or this is not like a definition, because this is just a part of my life. And as I know it, everything can change at any time. Like I said, I'm a strong believer in my faith, which I know you are also a strong believer in your faith. I'm a
Yes.
strong believer in the fact that sometimes what you think is how your life is supposed to be can be different. So after going through everything, I was able to gather myself, and also I was able to redefine what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be, and then start working towards that. Last year, since I came here, I've been telling my colleagues that last year was a time for me to just take life slowly and to just rest, to just get to know myself better, to just enjoy the comfort of being in a new place and doing something different. Because like I said, I come from a place where most of my mothers travel a lot. They do businesses. So doing something different, it was kind of like now I needed to make my own path. And trying to create my own path means that trying to gather what is available to me. And luckily for me, I was able to get my education, which was one of my strongest foot that helped me to be able to establish myself and get into my current position where I am lecturing public health in CDUTCM Kiel University Joint Institute, where I enjoy what I'm doing, where I'm always meeting amazing people and every day learning new things and just enjoying life as it comes with its own everyday challenges as well as everyday's joy. I am, yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
As someone who's moved continents and countries more than I care to count, I know what it means to move an entire self and pack
Yeah.
your entire life into a few either boxes or barrels or luggage, traveling bags, and go into an entirely different country. I know how difficult it is to come back to your birth country and then move again.
Yeah.
I've done it 2 times, and so I understand. It takes
Yeah.
resilience, it takes
Yes.
willpower, it takes
Yeah.
you wanting something different and following a path that you
Yeah.
believe is your path and not anyone else's. No, I'm not gonna lie, Alifa. From the last time I met you in person, sipping coffee and going for ice cream and all that, your glow has multiplied by at least 10 times. Um, and so I know you are in a good place. And I love stories like yours because even though it's a story that is still unfolding, you have found a space where even in the unfolding of that story, there is so much peace now. And it reads and shows on your face and in your smile. And as self appointed and self designated big sister, I have to say I am extremely proud of you. And I am
Thank
so
you.
glad that you
Thank
are where you are now. Normally, we would have kept talking for hours, at least an hour 30, but I'm very cognizant of the fact that you are almost about to hit midnight where you are, if you haven't done that already. And I know you need your beauty sleep. And so, unless you have something else that you want to add, I would like to tell
think I
everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I would like to add that in telling this story or in telling my story, I think one of the biggest things that is for me, I take from all of this is the fact that your story is allowed to change wherever you, because I know young girls, some young girls will be listening to this, or some older girls, your story is allowed to change. You are not by definition where you were born or where you were told to you have to be. You are allowed to take a step back and you are allowed to take a step forward and you're allowed to take a step sideways both ways and then make a decision as to where you want to be. And I am still unfolding in that sector, so I am really privileged to be able to share my story, because most of the time we hear the stories after there is success or after there is a perceived, okay, it's now like this, but this is the middle for me. And you are allowed to make your own story as in how you want it to be. And I am privileged to have the support of good friends, amazing friends and amazing older sisters to guide me as well as support me in so many different ways. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for this opportunity to share my story as a way of encouraging other people that you don't have to go through infertility by yourself. You can speak about it. I know it's a taboo that we don't speak about it, but it's actually part of right now. 1 in every 4 couple go through infertility. And the more we
Yeah.
keep quiet, it is that high. The
Wow.
more we keep quiet about it, the more harder it makes it, the more taboo we make it seem like. But it's not always a taboo, and it's not always towards one person. The most important thing is whatever your journey is, you are allowed to redefine, reintroduce, and change it to suit how you think your life should go through. So that is my success for me. Thank you so much for the opportunity to
Wow.
share my story.
That is amazing, Alifa. And you are right. Um, for everyone who will ever watch this 10 years from now, however long it takes for you to get to this story, I will reiterate what Alifa has said. Please, you can reset, you can recharge, you can refocus and change as many times as you need to, especially for young women living on the continent of Africa. Um, you find yourselves in unique spaces now. You are part of a population that is fast growing. Africa now has the youngest population in the world. You are important. And because you're part of this particular population, you're allowed to change as many times as you need to get to where you're supposed to get to. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why we do To My Younger Self, because 10 years from now, Alifa can look back on this particular time of storytelling and say, wow, I remember what I was going through at that time. I remember exactly where I was when I shared some parts of my story. Alifa, thank you. I am so
Thank you.
privileged to know you. I am in awe of your ability to grab your own faith and decide what faith means to you. And perhaps all of us should do that. We should not let others read the Bible or the Quran for us. We should read it for ourselves. And then we should decide how God wants us to walk the earth for us, not because somebody else said so. And so, from Kigali, Rwanda, where God lives, in my opinion, God lives here. I don't know where anywhere else, but in my opinion, when you come to the continent of Africa, God lives in Rwanda. In fact, He lives in the land of 1,000 hills. And so, right here from me, Kigali, and also from everyone who is in the background, who helps us with all kinds of things that you'll probably never ever see. I want to say thank you for joining us on the first edition of To My Younger Self. It's been 3 years since we last since we last came on. And perhaps maybe one day I'll jump on as the sole storyteller, or I'll bring a guest host who will interview me so that I get to share my story too, because I want to believe that I've been through a lot of changes in the last 3 years or so. Listen, I thank you. I'm very, very appreciative of you. Thank you for joining us today. Please do well to share. For those of you who were commenting, Eva and Mama Emilia and Dr. Hanatu, and I did see a few other people whose names I've unfortunately, because of the storytelling, has moved past me. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Please do share, and let the story go wide. With that being said, my name is Zoe Baraka. I've been your host for today on To My Younger Self, and have a wonderful time. And we will see you actually in 2 weeks with a guest from Kenya. Her name is Tina Nzuki. She is a ball of fire, and you definitely do not want to miss it. So I will see you here again on the 29th of August with Miss Tina Nzuki. All right, with that being said, I will see you when I see you. Have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.